and welcome to my little corner of the world. My name is Hilla. Today I'll be talking about how I try to avoid going insane during lockdown and the month of January up here in the north. I'm wearing headphones because the wind is blowing from the east, which means it's coming from Siberia, and I somehow lost my earmuffs. I would buy new ones, but the so-called non-essential shops are closed these days. It's probably a bit late in the day to address ways of dealing with lockdown, considering we first went into lockdown in March last year. But back then there was a bit of novelty about it. We were frightened, but we were also curious. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know how long it would last. So we found things to do. We headed for the kitchen, we cooked and we baked and we ate. And in my part of the world, we were headed for spring. There was more daylight. You may sense already now, and from my last video, if you've seen it, that I'm a bit obsessed with daylight. What can I say? I'm Danish. Things were beginning to bloom in March last year when we first went into lockdown. Things were becoming greener every day, in itself a promise of better times ahead, at least visually. But now we're in post-Christmas lockdown and it's dreary January. We're fed up, and of course some of us are downright suffering. Let me be clear, I regard lockdown as a necessary evil. I'm about 70% behind it. I'm 100% behind vaccinations. Let me also be clear that I'm in no way suggesting we can in reality escape from it. First step to sanity is to accept the situation as it is, at least the parts that we can do nothing about. But we can still feel the need to escape it all from time to time. And it makes us feel better if we take control of what we can, instead of it controlling us and giving up. There are many ways of doing things in these strange times. I'm sure you've found many that have worked and maybe some that haven't worked so well. I know I have. I've also found that I need both passive and active ones, and I need some that help me escape mentally and some that help me escape physically. The inactive passive methods often involve some kind of consumption, be it food, Netflix, social media, YouTube. Our brains are put on standby because it feels safe. It's literally mind-numbing. It depends on what we watch, of course. Some things enrich us and lift us up, others not so much. While it's totally fair and human, I employ it often. The problem with this strategy is that it only works for as long as we're engaged in it. The minute we stop, not only is it no longer working, we also tend to feel a bit guilty or lethargic. So we need something that's also good for us in the long term, something that's constructive and where we feel we actually take charge. Probably we need a balance, lockdown or no lockdown. We need to be stimulated in positive ways, and there's no better remedy for that, to me, than nature. A lot of research supports this. If you go for a walk in nature or in a small park or in a garden, you're combining two things that boost your immune system, nature and movement. If you do it daily, you'll be building a habit that could potentially prolong your life. If you add a third element to that, sunlight, or at least daylight, you'll be boosting your mood. And if you live further south, or when spring comes around up here in the north, you'll be giving your system those necessary doses of vitamin D. If you add a fourth element and meet up with a friend and go for a walk outside, keeping a safe distance of course, you'll be keeping up your friendships as well. I had already developed a habit of going for walks with especially two of my friends, and the fact that we continued to do that through 2020 made it feel as if I wasn't losing out as much as I would have felt if we'd only ever gone to cafes together. Another way of soothing the system is through meditation, not in any weird, mystical Buddhist way, at least not necessarily, but simply sitting down at least once a day for 20 minutes to soothe and quieten your nervous system and your thoughts. There will still be thoughts, but over time you will notice them less and you will react less to stuff that happens around you. Journaling is a way of going inward and unloading all your thoughts and worries onto the page. You might discover new things about yourself, and it even seems to boost creativity. I've also experimented with keeping a gratitude journal. It's a way of directing our focus on the positive aspects of our lives, and it has health benefits both mentally and physically. Apparently once a week is supposed to be the ideal doses for that. Reading is a way of not going inward, but of taking a leap into somebody else's mind, which I find not only healthy but necessary. Whether it's stories that inspire you or show you that you're not alone or books that educate you, it doesn't matter as long as you read. All reading is essentially escapist in nature, but the very best kind. These are typical good ways of maintaining your mental health. But as humans, we need diversity. Our brains like to be challenged. So if none of this was new to you, you should probably add to the list and learn new stuff. We're wired to learn new things, and when we learn new things, our brains are rewired. They're kept agile. That way we can potentially escape boredom too. Probably it was no coincidence that 2020 saw a crazy growth in YouTube channels. I'm late to that party too, but never mind. Finally, I would suggest something that we can do both inside and outside. Find beauty. Remind ourselves that there is beauty in the world. Deliberately seek it out. So to sum up ways of escaping lockdown or darkness or a dreary January, seek out nature. Go for a walk. Expose yourself to daylight. Connect with friends. Meditate. Read. Journal. Learn something new. Find beauty. And you can essentially do them all for free. If you have other good suggestions, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. We are apparently lucky that the corona crisis first began in the spring of last year. According to Danish medical expert Søren Brostrøm, a man whom nobody knew who was this time last year and whom everybody in Denmark now knows, the turning point will be around Easter 2021. So hang in there. Thank you so much for watching.